So in this video, I'm going to be comparing these four ratchets, the Elora, Stahlwille, Bahco and the Hazet. I'm basically going to go from my least favourite to my most favourite and explain why along the way. So first of all, we'll start out with the Elora. So this is the Elora 700L1Z. Its length is 25 centimeters. Its weight is 540 grams. Its tooth count is 12. It has a push-through style mechanism, and it's the cheapest ratchet, priced anywhere from 10 to 30 euros on eBay. So what do I like about this? Well, first of all, this is durability. I got this about 8 years ago from my granddad, and my granddad worked for Fiat as a car assemblyman. So I don't know if Fiat actually gave them these ratchets to put their cars together, or he bought this for his own private use. But you can see that's West Germany, so the ratchet is at least 30 years old. It's probably much older. You can see that it has a number 69 on the end of the ratchet there. So I don't know if that's the date it was made, or it was possibly the cast number or the type of finishing that they use on the Elora. But super durable. The teeth in here are huge compared to the Bahco and the Stahlwille. So it's definitely no chance of them kind of breaking off. They're very strong. Of course, you know, it stood the test of time. It's very easy to maintain. It's just one screw and the whole mechanism literally falls apart. And you don't even need to really take it apart to maintain it. Literally, because just, you can see that the clearance is maybe over the years, or maybe it wasn't that well finished from the factory. But you can see there's a good significant gap. So literally, what I like to do is I like to, even though it's super easy to take apart, sometimes it's just easier to just get a basin of ATW90 oil, which is gear oil, and of course these are gears, and you just lay it in the oil and let the oil kind of do the work for you. Just kind of work the mechanism around and let the oil kind of go in between all the teeth to correctly cover the teeth. And this is maintained so far. There's pretty much no rust on here at all. There's only a little bit of dried up grease and oil over the years. No rust whatsoever, even inside the mechanism itself. So definitely stood the test of time. Very durable. If I was stuck in a desert island, this would be the ratchet I'd take, because I know it's not going to fail. Whereas even though these are way easier to use and way faster to use, you know, they're still modern ratchets, and they definitely have their issues, you know, because they're much more technology gone into them. Whereas this is just bare bones basic ratchet technology that's worked for years. And Elora still actually make push-through ratchets if you're looking for one. I'm not sure why you'd want one unless you're literally in the scenario that I described, because they're a little bit outdated, they're a little bit slow to use. So what else do I like about the ratchet? Well, secondly is I like the weight distribution. So unlike some other ratchets like the Stahlwille, all the weight of this ratchet, the head is on the head portion of the ratchet. So basically when you're quickly undoing a fastener, or screwing a fastener back up, and you want to do it really fast, it gives less of a pendulum effect with the back portion of the bottom portion of the ratchet in the handle section. Just makes it feel a little bit more lighter on its feet and a little more easier to work with, like you're not fighting the ratchet, if that makes sense. Next, I like the finishing. So the finishing has a caveat to it, but I'll get to that in a second. So it's a rough chrome finish. So basically what that means is when your hands get oily and all that kind of stuff, which will happen if you're working on machines or whatever you're working on, you know, because your hands get oily, it actually gives them a really grippy kind of surface for you to hold onto. Even though on the face of it, it doesn't have a handle, unlike all the other ratchets. You might think it'd be the most uncomfortable to use, but actually I find the handle on this guy super comfortable to use. Also the caveat with the actual finishing of the chrome is this rough chrome finish likes to hold on to a lot of dirt and a lot of oil. As you can see, over the years it's kind of all dried into the little crevices. So when you do get a drop of oil on here, oil will kind of pool up in them little crevices and cracks that are on the ratchet body itself. So yes, oil will hold on here, unlike some of the other, you know, finely mirror finished chrome that you find in the Stahlwille or the Bahco. You know, they'll just wick off straight away, whereas this will kind of hold on to oil a bit more. It'll kind of bubble up on the surface, if that makes sense. It will kind of stay onto it. It won't drip off, unlike the smoother chrome that you find on the Bahco and the Stahlwille. So it does get, but in saying that though, like I said, the grip kind of portion kind of counterbalances that in a sense. So it's still a very grippy ratchet. You don't have to reach for your kerosene or anything to wipe down the ratchet or anything like that. When this ratchet gets oily, it doesn't really matter. You still have plenty of grip on it, which I do like. Next is the comfort. So like I said earlier on, it mightn't seem on the face of it that this is a comfortable ratchet to use, but I find this ratchet really comfortable compared to the likes of the Stahlwille or the Bahco. There's no obviously handle. It's obviously just a full metal handle, but as you can see, what I like in a handle what I like in the ratchet handle is all my 4 fingers to be as close to my palm as I possibly can get them. And for your information, my hand is a size L, so your hand might be smaller or bigger. But for me, the Elora fits my hand perfectly fine. As you can see, all my 4 fingers are touching my bottom of my palm, so it definitely gives a very secure feeling in the hand. Definitely no worries about having slipping off or anything like that if I'm taking off a large fixture or trying to screw in something really tight. Really nice handle on it. So what do I not like about it? Well, I don't like the push through style mechanism. It's very outdated. It's just very slow to use as opposed to the switch style mechanism that you find on these modern ratchets. And basically, if I get my socket here and I go to put it on, you have to kind of hold the back portion of the drive there, unless it kind of goes through it like that. So you constantly have to have your thumb on the back portion of the mechanism so it doesn't pop out. And once you do have it in there, you can see that the clearance is that Hazet socket here allows for the little drive to kind of stick out a little bit, even though the clearances aren't exactly the best. You can see that it does have a significant slop in the mechanism, so you're going to have a little bit of a power loss when you're putting a lot of pressure through the actual drive itself. Your hand is going to have to compensate for that little bit of slop that you find in the ratchet itself, and you're going to have slop in all these ratchets, more so the Stahlwille and the Elora, lesser with the Bahco and the Hazet. And obviously, when you're going to take off the actual socket itself, sometimes you can actually stick into the stay onto the no, it didn't do it there. I'll try to get it to do it now. Hold on to it, push it through like that, and take it off. Sometimes the you can see that kind of slipped in. The kind of socket pulls on the little ball joint of the drive. So sometimes the actual drive itself can actually stick into the socket like that, which is a bit of annoying. It's just more time consuming to work with, so you kind of have to bounce it off the floor like that and then push the drive itself out to dislodge it. So it's a more time consuming ratchet to use. It's obviously outdated. The only reason I keep it is because it's sentimental. It's worth nothing. I wouldn't buy it for €10 if it was on eBay for that price. For me as well, that the teeth are just a little bit outdated. They are 12. There is 12 teeth in here. They are very big compared to the Stahlwille and the Bahco that I've taken apart, which does mean that it's very durable. But I'm saying that you are going to have less range of motion with the with this tool. So like I said, it's 12 teeth. You are mainly going to be using from this amount of movement. So that's about 6 teeth, whereas all these other tools here, that's 36 teeth, 72 teeth, 32 teeth. You are going to have more of a range of motion in a smaller space than you would have with the Elora here, because it has 12 teeth. So this is just more of a slower tool to use. It's just outdated. There's much better tools on the market that can replace this guy, which I have done with my Facom ratchet that I have over there. So we'll start off with the we'll start off with the Stahlwille. So this is the Stahlwille 512. Its length is 26.5 centimeters. Its weight is 600 grams. It has 36 teeth. It has a switch style mechanism, and it's the second most expensive ratchet at €50 on German Amazon, which is the cheapest that I could find it. So I'll start off with what I like. So the mechanism on here is very easy to service, just 2 Phillips, and the whole mechanism, the whole backing plate just comes off, and the little drive and the gear and everything just pops out. It's really easy to service. The switcher itself is very nicely done. It has these kind of grooves in it which kind of grip onto your finger when you want to change the direction of the ratchet, so it's really nice to use. And there's not a lot of play or anything like that in the switcher itself. It's made of metal, so it has that substantial feel to it. This is a non-cadmium tool. All Stahlwille products, I believe, are non-cadmium, and that basically means that these are safe to work on titanium fittings. So if you work in the aerospace industry or the motorsport industry, where titanium and kind of light fixtures and nuts and bolts exist, you know, Stahlwille is their tool to go to, because the cadmium, when it comes into contact with the titanium, weakens the titanium, and that can be dangerous, obviously, because you don't want nuts and bolts constantly snapping and breaking. I'm not sure if Hazet, Bahco or Elora make cadmium free tools. I'm not completely sure. Obviously with something like a ratchet, it doesn't really matter really if it's cadmium free. It's more to do with the sockets themselves if it's cadmium free, because they're going to be coming into contact mainly with the titanium fixtures. But it's good to know that all Stahlwille products are cadmium free. Next is, I like the finishing on here. So the finishing is like no other tool that I've ever used. I've used you know, some of the Stahlwille products that I've used are spanners, box wrenches, obviously ratchets, and they have no other feeling compared to any other tool. It's like almost a plasticky rubber kind of texture to it. It's very strange, and I do quite like it actually, because oil doesn't really tend to stick to the surface as much as the Hazet or the Elora, which is good. But even though it's it doesn't stick to the surface, it leaves a little bit of a film, so you will have to wipe it off, because it does become very slick if you do want to hold the metal portion of the ratchet itself, which is a bit unfortunate. But it definitely feels super high quality. You know, most people when they handle a Stahlwille tool, they say, you know, I never felt anything like that in my life really, because everything else kind of feels similar. You know, you got the Bahco with the mirror chrome finish, you got the Hazet with that kind of sandpapery chrome texture to it there, and you got the Elora with the rough chrome finish. So Stahlwille definitely has a unique texture to it, and unique finish. So what do I not like about this tool? Well, there are a few things I don't like about this tool. One of the main reasons I don't like this tool is that the weight itself is evenly distributed through the ratchet itself. So when I pick this up, all the weight is pretty much in the middle there, which makes it really annoying, because like I said earlier on, you have that pendulum effect. You want all the weight to be on the ratchet itself, so you're not constantly pulling back and forward the weight that's on the handle portion of the ratchet itself. So it is a bit more fatiguing to use there. The slop in the mechanism is quite significant. It's sometimes I even think it's more so than the Elora. So that basically means that's, you know, the build quality, the tolerances in here aren't as, you know, good as the Bahco or the Hazet. And when you actually have a socket on here, you know, you can definitely hear, it's kind of like a rattle effect. When I even take it off, you can still hear more so. So there's definitely an issue there, and I have taken this apart, as I said earlier on. You know, 2 Philip PH1 or PH0 should I say screws, they come out, and I basically thought that maybe these were not tight enough. So firstly I tried tightening them as much as I could, and they wouldn't tighten anymore. So maybe I thought there was something wrong with the screws, maybe they were cross threaded or something was wrong with the thread. So I took it all apart, oiled it, put it all back together, couldn't find anything wrong with the screws, tightened as much as I could, but there's still that rattle. So obviously when you hold the back portion of the mechanism, it doesn't make that noise. So it's obviously something got to do with the tolerances that are in the ratchet itself. They're not as up to standard as the Bahco or the Hazet. What do I not like as well? The teeth in here are very badly done. Basically it feels like it has tight spots and loose spots. So the teeth will have very, you know, good resistance. Next to all, just slip and it's very irritating when you're working on something all day long, and sometimes your ratchet slips. It's just, it's when you compare it to the Bahco and the Hazet, the teeth in them are a lot more refined than the teeth in the Stahlwille. They just kind of have this kind of slipping feeling when you're going back and forward all day long with the tool. So that's a bit of a problem there. I don't like. That's why it's so far down in my opinion, because the teeth in here just don't feel as high quality as some of the cheaper brand like the Bahco, and the more expensive brand like the Hazet. They just don't feel up to standard as those other tools. For me as well, because my hand is size L, even then the actual neck of the ratchet is still a bit too thick for me. Maybe you have XL hands or double XL hands. This will feel better in your hand. For me, it's just a little bit too thick, especially compared to the Hazet that has a little bit of a thinner handle. The handle thickness on here is a little bit too bulky for me, so it just feels a bit unwieldy in the hand. It doesn't feel as secure as the Hazet or the Bahco. For me as well, the rubber material on the handle is a bit of a letdown. So as we all know, rubber and oil and grease do not mix, as we know with tires. So as soon as you get a sniff of oil on here, it becomes super slick, and you basically have to rub something, get a dry cloth or a bit of kerosene or something, and just basically rub it off immediately. Otherwise, you find yourself slipping a lot of the time with the ratchet if you're putting a lot of torque or force through the ratchet itself, and the handle is a bit slippy. You could have the problem of having an actual slip off and actually damage the fixture, the bolt that you're actually working on there. You can actually round it off that way, so it's a little bit annoying that this is so slick when it gets a little bit oily. It's just a bit more time consuming to constantly having to wipe down all the oil that's on there and have it super clean, so it'll maintain its grippiness. Another thing I don't like as well is the handle itself. It's a bit too thick for me. As you can see, I can just have two of my fingers touch the end of my palm. So, maybe if your hands are a bit bigger than mine, this will fit your hands a bit better than mine. It just doesn't feel secure in my hands compared to the Bahco or the Hazet or the Elora. It definitely feels too big for the purpose of my use. And then there's of course the price. So this is €50. If this was maybe €30, I'd recommend it. But at €50, with the amount of slop that's in the mechanism and the fact that their teeth are just a bit, they're just not as up to standard as the Bahco or the Hazet. I can't really recommend it for the €50 price. Maybe I just got a bad ratchet, but I'm not going to take the chance of buying another Stahlwille ratchet. So next we'll move on to the Bahco. So this is the Bahco S8 1SL. Its length is 25.6 centimeters. It's the lightest ratchet at 340 grams. Its tooth count is 72 teeth, which is the most. It's a quick release style mechanism, and it's the cheapest price for a new ratchet. It's priced at currently €20 on UK Amazon, so that's about £20. So that is roughly about €25. So it's super cheap for what it costs, and super quality. Definitely beats the Stahlwille for overall quality. So what do I like about this ratchet? Well, first of all, it's weightless feeling. So we definitely don't have any pendulum effect whatsoever with this tool, going back and forward all day long. It definitely is not fatiguing in the hand, and there's pretty much no slop in the mechanism whatsoever. It feels super secure, even with the 2 years of use that I have on this ratchet. So it has lots of teeth as well, which means if you're in more confined space, it just takes less effort to constantly, if you want to undo or tighten up something really tight, it takes less movement, let's say, to tighten up the bolt, and you're much faster with the more teeth that are in here than some of the lesser tooth ratchets that are here. You definitely feel yourself more faster with the more teeth that are in here. Another thing as well is the quick release style mechanism. Now Hazet and Stahlwille offer a quick release style mechanism. Also Elora, if you want to have a look at some of the more modern Elora ratchets, they all offer quick release style mechanism. But what I like about the quick release style mechanism, you can have all your sockets just lined up face down on the floor, You can just pretty much one hand everything, fit it on there, no problems whatsoever. It's never going to come off because it's all secure, and just push it down and naturally just comes off. It's really easy to use. I definitely have no issues with the push to stall mechanism. It has a good bit of resistance to it, so it doesn't feel like it's really loose, but also doesn't feel super tight. Just keep it well lubricated, and it works for me pretty well. Next is I like the switcher. The switch on here is by far my favourite, more so than the Stahlwille. It's made of full metal, as you can see, and it's just super positive feeling. Definitely feels the most secure in the hand when you're switching the direction of the ratchet. There's pretty much no play at all, no slop. It's really good. And of course, we'll get on to some of my dislikes. So my dislikes is the head is literally half the size of pretty much all the other traditional ratchets. So what that means is when you're holding a ratchet normally, when you're holding it by the body, you know, it fits into your hand much more. So easier, as you can see here with the Stahlwille. Whereas the Bahco, you kind of cover the whole the head of the ratchet. So when you have the socket on, sometimes your hand can kind of, your index finger and your thumb can kind of touch off the socket itself there, so it can kind of put a little bit of unnecessary resistance against the socket itself there, so it can be a bit more harder to undo or tighten up a fixture. Second thing as well is I like the more rounder neck that's on the more traditional ratchets over the flat design that's on the Bahco, because your fingers don't really ever feel secure in the hand. You know, it's definitely the least comfortable when you're holding the metal portion of the ratchet compared to any of the other ratchets that I have on this list. Second thing as well is the rubber on here. As you can see, unlike the Stahlwille, which has that smooth rubber, this is much more grooved rubber. You can see it's like almost an orange peel texture, and basically oil loves to live in that surface, and it's very difficult for it to remove it unless you have some kerosene and a rag and wipe it all off immediately. Otherwise it will stay on there and become super slick. Sometimes this whole orange portion becomes black with the oil that comes on it, and it basically becomes super slippery, more so than the Stahlwille. Second thing I don't like is, fourthly should I say, thing I don't like as well, is that the tool holder, when you're holding a tool, naturally your small finger can cover this hole and just basically doesn't have a good feeling. Just really awkward feeling that I don't like off the tool holder there. Even screwdrivers and all that stuff with tool holders, I won't buy them anymore because they just feel too uncomfortable with the small finger going into the tool holder itself there. Next thing I don't like as well is that it's a little bit difficult to service. So unlike the Stahlwille and the Hazet, the Bahco, or sorry, the Elora, this has a kind of a spring clip mechanism, kind of like a circlip. So you either have to have circuit pliers or tweezers to open this guy up. But once you have it open up, it's fairly easy, although the parts are much more smaller than the larger ratchets that are on here, so a little bit more fiddly to service, but I've had no issues with durability or anything like that. Teeth on here, as you can hear, are super fine. No slipping, no positive. It's very positive feeling, unlike the Stahlwille one that kind of has this tight spots and loose spots. This feels very uniform in its tooth resistance, which I really like. But obviously, in my opinion, the Hazet is better, and I'll get to that now. So this is the Hazet. This is the 916 SP. Its length is the longest at 27.5 centimeters. Its weight is the second heaviest at 570 grams. It has the second least amount of teeth at 32 teeth. It's a switch stall mechanism, and it's the most expensive at €53 and at German Amazon, which is the cheapest I could find it. So what are my likes? Well, the weight is much more biased towards the head. So like I said earlier on, you get that weightless feeling. You don't get that pendulum effect with the bottom portion of the ratchet, so you're not putting so much resistance through it. There's pretty much zero. It has the least amount of slop of any mechanism at all. There's definitely no noise or anything like that whatsoever. And I have about 80 hours of use on this ratchet so far, and there's still absolutely no slop whatsoever. It's very, very secure. Just means you're having to put less energy through the socket, and you put it onto more so onto the fitting rather than through the ratchet onto the socket, if that makes sense. What else can I say about it is that the teeth on here are super, super refined. These are definitely my favorite teeth of any of the other ratchets that I've worked with. Basically just pretty much no vibration. It's definitely, you can hear the most quietest. They have the proper amount of resistance that I like. So you're not fighting the ratchet. The actual weight of the ratchet does most of the work for you, if that makes sense, because the teeth on here are so well balanced. So definitely has the nicest teeth. Other thing that I like as well is that it has the mirror chrome finish on the actual face of the ratchet itself. And what that basically allows is, if you can see with the rest of the handle and the rest of the body of the ratchet, it's more of this sandpaper kind of finishing that's on here, and as you can see it's very grippy, whereas the mirror chrome finish on here is super slick. So basically that means when you actually want to change the direction of the ratchet, it's much more easier just to slide your hand across rather than slide your hand across the matte chrome finish if it was on the rest of the body of the head of the ratchet. Most of these other ratchets, in fact all the ratchets, are pretty much uniform. It's just the Elora has more of a polished chrome finish at the top as opposed to the rest of the body. I'm not sure why, but it's just a good little attention to detail that like just let your hand slip over to change the mechanism a lot easier than it would be if it was made out of this the similar matte chrome finish that's on there. Next thing I like as well is the logo is actually cast directly into the neck of the handle. And basically what that means is when you're holding the ratchet by the metal portion, it gives you an extra bit of grip because your hand kind of fills in these natural cracks, naturally fills these cracks that are in the cast of the tool itself. So it just gives a really good positive feeling, and it doesn't feel like your hand's going to slip off. It definitely has the nicest metal portion to hold of any of the other ratchets that are on this list, which I really like. Definitely the finishing on here as well is the most grippiest. Unlike the Elora that holds oil, and unlike the Hazet that has that mirror chrome finish along with the Bahco, the Hazet is that perfect mid-ground between holding oil and being while still maintaining grippy kind of texture. So if your hands do get oily, even though it will your hands will be still a little bit slippy, it definitely has the best grip in my opinion because it doesn't hold oil, so you don't have to constantly be wiping down the tool like the Elora, but also isn't super slick to the point where if there is a little bit of an oil film left, unlike the Stahlwille and the Bahco that have that mirror chrome finish, it won't be a super slick tool to use. So it just gives you that little bit of grip, which I do like, and I do like the way your hands naturally fit into these little grooves and everything. It just gives that extra bit of grip when you're holding the metal portion. Next of all is the handle itself. So the handle kind of has the same similar finishing to the actual metal portion of the handle. In my last video, I basically said that this was maybe Hazet cheaping out, but after actually using this in the real world, I absolutely love this handle. It's just a hard plastic 2-component handle. It's a little bit softer plastic. It's like kind of a rubbery plastic, whereas this is just hard plastic. And basically what that allows is like similar with the matte chrome finish. If oil does get on here, it does tend to drip off here a lot more than the Stahlwille and the Bahco. And also because it's not rubber, it doesn't hold on to oil. It does become super slick. So even if oil does get on the surface, it still maintains its grippiness, if that makes sense. If you have a bit of oil on here, you don't need to constantly be wiping it off with a dry rag or a bit of kerosene rag or anything like that. It still maintains its grippy kind of texture when oil does get on it. And one of my dislikes, and there are a few dislikes that I hate about this tool, one of which is definitely the cheap plastic switcher that's on this tool. It definitely is the worst of all of them. As you can see, it's a much more flatter profile compared to the Stahlwille, and there's no texture to it whatsoever like the Stahlwille. It's just cheap plastic. Not sure how long it will last. It's definitely much more harder to change direction, unlike the Stahlwille. You can definitely get your hand over the Stahlwille a lot more easier than the Hazet. Another thing that I don't like as well is the Torx. Maybe not everybody has Torx. Everybody has Phillips. Everybody has a flathead. You know, maybe not everybody has Torx screws, so that's something to keep in mind. If you do want to service this, you have to have the correct Torx screwdriver. And next is the Hazet brand itself. So unlike Stahlwille and Elora and Bahco, Hazet only offer this specific ratchet with all their socket sets. So if you want maybe the push-through style mechanism, or maybe you want the swivel head, Hazet only offer the 916 SP with all their socket sets. So if you, unlike the Stahlwille allows you to have that quick release system in some of their other ratchets, as does the Bahco and the Elora, whereas Hazet only offer this specific model with all their socket sets. If you have any questions, please give me a shout, comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't like to give notifications, so I'm not quite sure if I'll see it, but please do comment and I'll try to answer your question. If you'd like a more in-depth review maybe on a specific ratchet, please feel free to ask. It's kind of just improv tool review, so there are going to be a few mistakes and a few oversights that I may have missed. I try to do my best to cover all the portions that I want to cover in this video. Thanks for watching.